that's what you want to do. You want to read with a notepad. You want to read with a highlighter because it gets you engaged. Dr. Alexander talked about stories, and it's stories that really teach us about the world. Stories connect us to one another, and stories actually teach us about ourselves. And so it helps us to build empathy. And I write in the space of storytelling from a legal perspective and building empathy. And so that's why, to me, storytellers are a special group, and they have a special place in this world. And you know how you feel when you hear, Nancy's story, or even a friend says, "So let me tell you," right? How you feel. Yeah. So again, to repeat, I'm so humbled and honored to be here in the presence of such accomplished authors. They are my celebrities, and they write in different genres and in different spaces. And I won't read from their bios because I probably would be here until tomorrow. So you can look in the package and you'll see their bios. And having spoken to all the authors before, this this time you're in for an absolute treat. I think so. We'll go in terms of alphabetic order with Andrew Bunner. So we'll start, and then we'll go with Bernard Coburn. Then we'll have Linda Edwards. Then we'll have Laura Morrison, Faith Nelson, and then Dawn Forrester Price. You'll talk about your work and what got you to the space, probably about nine minutes, and then later on we'll have a question and answer. Right? Okay. So you'll talk for 3 minutes, and then we'll do the quick Q&A on the spot. 3 minutes still? Yes.
And Monique will be keeping it up. Please. Up your head, dear. Evening breeze stop blow. Come this way, Miss Flo. Tumbling beast of burdensome. Rest your sympathies. Feel the evening breeze. I sing no more. No. I see you with the girl. Alone. No woman to cherry call your mother. The morning sun illuminates your cocoa brown face, accentuates tigress eyes, curiously panning your tropic space. Floral ribbon bows on ponytails hang playfully on your lean shoulders. Smooth, snug frock and shiny streamers and dressing shoes. Just perfect for the princess. You. Your saucy lips, true jocose wit, make children laugh and old folk scold. And when schooner keep, it's you that I read songs, recite and make up story. All he. I see you, sister. Center stage. The lights dim, you with the crochet needle rainbow yarns around your neck, on your lap, on the floor. A fuller spot on your face reveals the handiwork of a mother, lover, dancer, teacher, warrior, stitching memories, row by row, across time. Single stitch, double stitch, slip stitch, granny stitch, pump stitch, treble stitch. Star stitch, V stitch, flat stitch, knock stitch, bubble stitch, chain stitch, and if you fall down, roll stitch. Linking, shaping, excess, not needing work. Just I see you, Mother Courage. Raising 2 boys, 2 girls, bedtime stories, soft kisses, moonbeams join in the play while night frogs whistle mental lullabies, and children sleep soundly in your care. Then sorrow broke in. Your 2 sons to bury. Tears crochet patterns into dreams for your daughters, exquisite as the lace back, labyrinths to new routes of wholeness. I see you, Sister Love. Where red bougainvillea, nature's duvet, caress your home, permeates with its honeyed fragrance, inspiring your inner garden of bliss. Where your words satisfy soul's deep desire for oneness. Goddess of beauty and creativity, sensuality, waving affection with your lion heart. Good morning, honey, how you feel? All right, make her rub your feet, for her heart does not count birthdays. It's a metronome measuring thoughtfulness, the truth in love's voice, the closeness of breath, the way you wish to be loved. I see you, Sister Dancer, stretching on the bar, warming your lean body, stretching, strengthening the muscles of the mind in preparation for the grand jeté across the world to hone your craft. This Dr. Bird flies emerald green high over London, slapping, clapping, rock steady, reggae, wing songs, movement allegro, stitching patterns of Jamaican, European, African forms on grand stages, from classical shows and échappées, pirouettes and yawaras and kumina and dikimene. You, the sight to behold. Londoners marvel at your stories of cultural intersections, a choreographer's dream in the name of Rex Neckerford. But I see you, Sister Tisha. Griot of gritty tales, praising gusty women, from wastrels to warriors, ululating grief songs from cupcake country to concrete jungles of real-life precipitous forced into hell from adversities, abuse, hunger, with sheer will to rise like the Egyptian Bennu bird from the ashes to be born again for soul's journey, bearing gifts of knowledge and creativity from Saraswati's crown, script in one hand, upright Veena playing Rasta woman's vibrations. You pour libation, ceremonial healing water from your water pots, mentoring young actors in the name of hope. I see you, warrior woman, stitching liberation strategies to free the minds of your people, stitching words of playwrights, dramas, agitprops, comedies, deconstructing fallen narratives about her story, like Queen Nanny, who defeats the British down by the Stony River, and Sojourner Truth, who blasts the call to action in the name of courage. I see you, great ancestor, smiling under the moonlight's lace, the closing curtain, a film of your crocheted motifs, iridescent rainbows. A natural mystic washes this upper room, stirring the genealogy of their becoming in the name of love. Single stitch, double stitch, slip stitch, granny stitch, half stitch, treble stitch, star stitch, V stitch, moss stitch, knot stitch, bobbin stitch, chain stitch. And if you fall down, roll and up stitch. Linking, shaping, textures. Nothing in the world just is failure. And that piece, I must say, thank you so much for the reminder of the time, and I'm going to continue to share with due respect. It's been quite a journey to get here to celebrate with you tonight. This piece honors my very dear friend who passed recently. Her name is Leonie Kibadni. And a lot of you know her as one of Jamaica's famous thespians, but a lot of you didn't know how much she enjoyed crocheting. Ergo, my choice of the crochet motif to connect that metaphor of her life and of our own lives. And I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to celebrate this moment of memory for Leonie Kibadni Forbes. And you can get my books. And you can get my books at literacygatewayinstitute.com. I have written books that are, I have written a fiction series about a young boy named Roderick, who was relegated to a life of servitude. His white American father left him in Jamaica, and his African Jamaican mother became, emotionally detached from him and sends him away to Kingston. And I know a lot of you people understand when the little picnic come to town and when we are supposed to take care of them, the theme of kinship care, we don't take care of the children like we should. And boys, I make an argument for boys. Our boys need a little bit more of that time. Thank you.
And I totally agree. But once you realize, you need, I totally agree. Once you realize,
Yes, ma'am.
to embrace what's here for us. I don't know what the audience, but I felt like I was exposed. Right? I felt like I was having a folks body that it just lived me forever. Amazing. Thank you so very much. Now, what made you want to be it?
The Jamaican literary culture. We had one in spite of our struggles. We had one, and we still have one. We are storytellers who came across. We all know the story of our disenfranchisement, but we have taken that disenfranchisement and turned them into real wonderful stories that we're telling to our children. So I started writing when I was a little girl, because in Jamaica, the reading and the writing happens at the same time. And both my parents were school teachers. My mother was a literature buff, and she encouraged us, again, just like Dr. Garvey shared, the Encyclopedia Britannica was there. When my father had, he would tell us, you don't have any homework to do?
No.
Go read your dictionary. And so I fell in love with words. And that's how it started for me. And then, of course, I was immersed into literature at the Jamaica School of Drama, now co-opted onto the Edna College of the Visual and Performing Arts. And that's where I also met some of the finest people. We're talking about Dennis Scott, who is just an amazing person. And I learned a lot more about literature then, literature of the world. And I moved to the United States on scholarship to study theater arts and dance. And I also immersed myself again in literature and became a teacher. Now I am of English and theater. Now I am retired. And so that's my origin story.
Thank you so very much for staying in the life. I am excited to have. I know he talks about, he told me he writes about others, writes about the world, so we will start it there.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You sound like I'm hungry. I'm happy to be here among this distinguished group of people. Dr. Alexander, down over there, and 100 other people here. My chiropractor saved me so I can be here standing with you this evening. I'm grateful to be here. I'm going to take you way back before a lot of you were born. And this one is My Wailings, or or His Imperial Majesty's son. The black flags of grief fly at half-mast from the windows of my mind. Overcome with grief as the strains of your music drift on a laden wind, I am hurting inside. Biting my lips in despair as the tears sting my eyes, I am hurting inside. My woman holds her head and cries, ignoring his voice saying, no woman, no woman, no cry. The walls of my temple, now worn with pain, reverberate with his lyrics. Liberate yourselves. Liberate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear, he said, for atomic energy. None of them can stop the time. And here, in the midst of my depression, in the sadness of my discontent, your light diffused through caverns long unused, through muffled sobs, I hear your voice, dreadlocks. Natty dreadlocks in a Babylon, roots natty. And I imagine myself in the corner of a darkened cell, a love-starved child contemplating suicide, is strengthened by the hand of the Almighty One. A lion roaring pauses in his stride to watch the trees dancing off their leaves as his voice wails, fly away home to Zion, fly away home. One bright morning when my work is over, I'd fly away home. And I said, fly on, brother, fly on. Nice? I like it. I like it. I'm glad. So we're going to touch a little piece of a thing called standard. Are there any children here? No. All right. So basically, I want to say pop story giving, and I don't have to explain what pop story giving means. And I'll tell you whenever I point at it, it's a pop story. So I told the professor earlier that I don't really write about myself. I'm a listener, and I write about other people. I copy what people are doing and saying, and just write it down on the paper and pretend that I'm gifted. So here we go. Pop story. They are twin, and the two of them are breed. Then all of a sudden, the two of them are babies same time. What about this?
That's the reggae man.
Of course, there was speculation about who the baby father was and who he was not, what him do for a living and what him did not, or even whether it was one father or two different men. He said,
That's the reggae man.
chatty mouth Cheryl swear says she know who, but she not tell nobody. Now she know what nobody say, as she said. From she born, everybody knows say she no fast in a other people business.
Yeah. That's the reggae man.
Well, you know, so she tell me. And that one she don't know what people are for. Because the whole village knows it. Trevor, Sandrine, and Sandra, baby, my baby father.
That's the reggae man.
Well, you don't get it.
Yeah.
This one was written in Manor Park on the street one evening in 1979. A lot of you weren't born at that time. But there's a gentleman in the audience here with gray hair, and he has my early poems, seeing there with the white hair on us. And I wanted to all before he leaves, gang up on him and make him give it. And if there's any good lawyers in the audience, I'd like to sue him for the return of those early 1970s poems. Anyway, this one is called Attitude of Society, and it's subtitled The Stone That the Builders Use. Look there. You put on them. Look at my smile to yourself. I'm going to you. I'm just telling you. But look at the woman, nice nickname, man. Look how hard she try with him. Starve herself to send him to school. And look upon him now. But take up something he can't manage. Out him turn Rasta. Son of bad company. Look what he do with him. Look upon the damn fool, man. Start born naked. Hurry up there. Let him come call to you. We don't want to put it in a second boy. You want to do one? All right. So now they call Luxie. And it's me never know say Luxie could see. He's dead when it come. Else he wouldn't take your money and tell you say you own a brother and sister try to keep you down. Me never know say Luxie could see. Tell you say you need gathering and bath. Make him go. And your body want cleanse. And your heart. Me never know say Luxie could see. Else he would change. Help poor people stop spreading hate. So brothers and sisters, be wise. I want you to know say on the day of judgment, Luxie, Jaja must chastise. Me never know say Luxie could see. Else he wouldn't take your money and tell you say brother and sister try to keep you down. Yeah, gentlemen. I want that more point to us. If I can go on, I gotta want. No, it's all right. Good.
Oh, not too bad.
Okay.
That was such excellent picture painting. Don't you actually see the Rasta guy and not wanting that scandal? This lady, one of the Mexican, he's washing when in the river and talking about the scandal. Fantastic, absolutely wonderful. Now, briefly tell us that we've got just a minute. What made you want? What made you?
I had great teachers. Really? Mrs. Forrester, she taught me. Yeah, she taught me. Dennis Scott and Sharon here can attest to that. Sharon, one of the best actresses that, along with Andrew and Dawn, who came out of Jamaica. There's Laurel here, who went to school with Laurel also. I think Mrs. Forrester taught you too, right? Yeah, so, well, if you grew up in Jamaica, particularly in the 60s and 70s, and you read a lot, if you had teachers like Mrs. Edwards and Mrs. Forrester and Mrs. Parks, you want to write because you want to be like the other people. And furthermore, I used to listen to a program on the radio on Sunday evenings. I think it might have been Simon, what was his name, from the college in Montego Bay? Simon Clark, yeah. And one particular line always jump out at me. There's this like Keenewale and all this thing going on, and then it says, the hills were joyful together. That alone, I want to create joyful memories for people. So that's about it.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much. You mean I could be? Thank you, everyone.
Linda to the stage.
I'm no poetess, so you won't be getting that from me. To date, I've written 2 books. The first one is called Redemption Song. And that came into being because in the space of a few years, I lost my uncle, my father, and my aunt. And nightmares that plagued me as a child came back in full force. This lovely man, who I was married to, I woke him up one night to say I'd had enough nightmare. And his response to me was, why don't you write it down? Get it off your subconscious. And he rolled over and went back to sleep. The first chapter of Redemption Songs was born. And I realized that not only did I like writing, but I had something to say. And that was very important. During the pandemic, I tried writing another book, which wasn't coming. And again, my spark of inspiration said to me, just write another one. You know, it's that easy. That easy to just write another one. And I remembered an email that my brother sent to me in December of 2018, because, you know, being from colonial Jamaica, primogeniture was very much still the norm. And when my father died, even though I'm the oldest, he, my brother, inherited the family Bible, the family crest, the family property, everything. So he sent me an email that my great-great-great-granduncle wrote, about a will that he had found that my great-great-granduncle wrote. And in this will, he had left Friendship Estate to his Jamaican-born wife that looked like me. But because of primogeniture, he was afraid she would not be able to inherit. So he asked his doctor to marry her upon his death so that she could inherit Friendship Estate. My imagination took flight from that. And I wrote Friendship Estate. My brother read it. And he said, you know, this is a pretty good beach read. I think you can do better. I said, all right. To read a book called Jamaica as it is, as it was, and as it should be. So have you ever heard about plagiarism? He said, don't worry about this. Your great-great-great-grandfather wrote it. Bernard Martin Sr. wrote the book. I read the book and I rewrote Friendship Estate. And the last 3 chapters of Friendship Estate are Bernard's dream for what he wanted to be, what he wanted Jamaica to be, the society of inclusion that he wanted to be. And the last 2 words in Friendship Estate are, if only. In 1927, a case followed Marcus Garvey to Jamaica. A case that should never have followed Marcus Garvey to Jamaica. A conspiracy between J. Edgar Hoover and the colonial powers in Jamaica to silence Marcus Garvey once and for all. A Jamaican Jew by the name of Louis Ashenheim rose to defend Marcus Garvey. And in a spirited fight for justice, that though delayed, neither would allow to be denied, they fought and won the only case Marcus Garvey ever won. 100 years after the fact, the Garvey family and the Ashenham family have come together to tell the story of these 2 great men. And the fight that they waged that changed the social, political, and cultural development of an island. The clarion call for independence was in that courtroom because every man who stood up and made independence happen for Jamaica was in that courtroom. It's true. Uncle Joe died a surprise. In 1925, when Marcus Garvey was in prison in Atlanta, he wrote a poem. In 2023, Derek Wilkie of DRS Music in Barbados took that poem and he did this with it.
Suns have set and suns will rise upon many gloomy lives. Those who sit and say nothing good comes our way. Some say, what's the use to try? Life is awful hard and dry. If that brings such news to you, this is what you ought to do. Let no trouble you. Keep cool, keep cool. Don't get hot like some folks do. Keep cool, keep cool. What's the use of prancing high while the world goes smiling by? You can win if you will try. Keep cool, keep cool. Keep cool, keep cool, keep cool, keep cool, keep cool, keep cool. Throw your troubles far away. Smile a little every day, and the sun will start to shine, making life so true and fine. Don't let a little care fill your life with grief and fear. Just be strong, be brave and true. Keep your head and you'll get through. Let no trouble you. Keep cool, keep cool. Just be brave and never true. Keep cool, keep cool. If they put you in the flame, though you should not bear the blame, do not start to resignate. Keep cool, keep cool. Keep cool, keep cool, keep cool, keep cool, keep cool, keep cool.
Song, which will be the first song on the soundtrack of Justice Delayed,
Oh.
the movie of Margaret Scarry. I know it's Ashton.
Wow. I'm having this discussion all on our body. I'm remote to spit out stuff. That should be all. Those almost kids forever.
It needs your mother.
Linda, I know that two books are just going to be the beginning.
Yeah.
So in, probably 30 seconds, just tell us what your writing ritual is, because you can't, we're expecting a whole lot more. So what's your writing ritual?
A great man once said, people who don't know their history is like a tree without roots. Thank you for that. That is the man that I have come to love and admire as much as I've come to love and admire his son. We in the Caribbean are in a unique position. We have at least 8 generations of our roots being buried in an island that has shown the world how to live in the spirit of one love. We have built a society of inclusions based on one love. We all sound the same, even though we don't look the same. And we all have moments of history where our ancestors have risen, not only to the challenge that they were given, but to show us a new way to face challenge. I'm very proud of that.
Yes, sir.
Now we'll have your remarks set. It's going to go the other.
Well, first, I would say thanks for having me and for this dedication from my great friend Don Forrester. And now I'm seeing Mr. Coburn. We all went to Oberlin for a short time. Miss Forrester taught us. And so there's something in Miss Forrester's soup. And as caused three of us from the same district be here tonight.
She would be very proud.
You'll be very proud. So here I am. I'm Lauren Morrison. I'm a little bit different from the rest of authors because I think I'm the little nosy guy that was in West Rural St. Andrew. Anybody who came to the house, as soon as I came, I grew close to them and I listened to everything and I took it in. So suddenly my grandfather died. He was Darius Giscombe, and I did not know a word where he came from. We're a small family in the West Road, St. Andrew. And so I started, as a grower for the family, I started collecting information. So from 1973, I started collecting all the information about the Giscombe. And in of the 20 years of research, talking about reading, I spent hours in Spanish Town. I took a crackers in my pocket and I hid inside. And when the place is ready to close, they ran me out. I went to the archives of Jamaica and I did the same. I went to London at Kew Gardens, I did the same. So that's some reading. So I put this book together because I did not know who my family was. And this book starts from 1770 in Jamaica. Caucasian suddenly came to Jamaica with his slaves and all that. And I started to put this together. So now, any Giscombe you see in Jamaica, we are a unique family that we are all related to the same Giscombe that came out of Barbados in 1770. So that's the other thing. I got a little bit more curious. And as I grew up, I went through Oberlin and all that. But before that, at 11-year-old, I heard I was at the barber shop. You know, the barbers tell everything. This book is also a seeking book. I was at the barber shop. This is in fiction, but I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to reveal my life tonight in 3 minutes. I sat in the barber shop waiting for my hair to cut. And the barber cutting the man's hair said, "Mr. Connolly, a who boy that?" And I looked up. And Mr. Connolly said, "Oh no, man." Mr. Barber said, "And the policeman boy, Ballard stabbing in a ghostly boy." I said, "What? That man gonna come see me next week, 2 weeks from now, about a case." I took that information and I left and I went home. And all and behold, 2 weeks, incidentally, accidentally, or by miracle, a car came up the hill, climbed up the hill. It came over the continental divide of Lawrence Tavern and Grant Hill and went on the other side of the low hill. It kicked up dust. As a little barefoot boy, I ran beside it. And as I drew the brake, and I drew the brake, and I reversed back with dust in my face, and I coughed. I looked in the car. 5 guys were in there, 5 men. I looked in the back, and what did I see? And what did I saw? Man with the same eyes as myself. The one in the back suddenly said, "Excuse the language, you look like you're a rascal, Jesus." I took that information and I kept it secret. I was ready to go to CAS before QTech is CAS. I went down to the Times store to buy my books. And said to my friend, "Let's go around to Central Police Station. There's a man who looks, I think somebody says my dad or my father." I was always a police looking man. I went to Central Police Station and I went back, and the guard stood straight and said, "Oh, Mr. Kusley's son now? Mr. Kusley's brother. You come to see him?" I said, "Yes, but." Walked into the Central Police Station without an ID. that night, that day. And he says he's round the corner. I went to his office and he turned around. What are you doing here? I don't have anything to give. I said, I don't want anything. I'm just here to come to tell you that I'm gonna go to cast, and that's it. He told me all this about his life at that point, and then I took it again and walked away. I came to the United States now, and I talked to my mother. My mother said, got mad and said, go down the road, go to Jamaica and go, there's a man down there. She didn't know that I moved a long time from the Netherlands. I went and I researched. I found it. Spanish town. Just before I found it, I went to the door with the gate and I said, Mr. Consulate, the police. I said, who is that? I said, is Roy? He said, no. I said, Lauren from Lawrence Tavern. Oh my gosh, my son is not my son. We had a drink, we had a cry. And so this book is a revelation of what came out of my body in 1 month. I wrote on toilet paper, I wrote passing my step work, I kept on writing because, as I tell everybody, when a woman is pregnant, the fetus is gathering information. So out of that experience and the turmoil, I think this book came. And I have 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So this book is just trying to tell my life story of, in a fictional form, what happened. The meeting of the parents, the sex involved, the hidden story, the conflict between the family and the respective family in the district. And it tells all of that. Then I bring in the saltfish and out about the wedding and all that, and then all this in the whole days of all the banjo, in the wedding day of the couple, all the banjo didn't played, and the rumba jump and all that. And at the wedding day, how even the living chickens in the country wedding, even the chickens were in the party. So the story is a fictional thing. Part of it is memoir, but it's a revelation of who I am. It was given to me in 1 month. The book was put down in 10 years into a box. And then after 10 years, it felt like it was ready to be published. I published it, and 10 years now, next year, it is 20 years this book has been written. We are now 20 years after. Look, I have all your distributors, so yes.
Wow.
Me, the point of view.
Yes.
I just think this is so wonderful. And when you told me about writing the story and how it is poured up to you, again, that's the power of story. It's such a cathartic experience. You are just pouring out, and that's your therapy. And so, I just want to share with the audience, just a quick moment, like in terms of as you wrote, you told us in it before when on like politics, religious. Allow us to come into your world and just tell us a little bit of how you felt as everything is poured out of you.
By the page, I'll read them. Those. Okay. I think this is healing. So anyone who has experienced anything like that, you can either write a letter to your mother, write a letter to your father, write something, don't even want to turn it over to them, just write it, start writing. And I think it's a process of healing the body. When I wrote this, I didn't have control over what I was writing, bad words or whatever that's said. So I just wrote. But then in the middle of it, in the middle of the writing, I regard myself as the river. And I just read one little page of it. Sonny's mind went into a straight process that brought to the forefront an image of himself as a river, quick, powerful, and deep, that flows within its banks day by day. It gave sustenance to the flesh within, to the fish within. Wild birds flew above its refreshing waters, with wild animals and plants along its silt slush back. The river was placed there by sheer gravity or destiny, and told not of its origin and its sources of parentage until one day, by chance, it made a self-discovery. Its past history was a way back there somewhere up in the upper valley. Sonny saw himself as that river, a river planted in one lush green valley, and visited occasionally by family and friends, even that it flows out to sea, it search for a true connection. The river meanders from its mountain springs and flows down and over hilly slopes, through ravines and gorges, creek to flat lands where alligators sleep and lure. It navigates around the small towns and farms and country camps, still searching. Each day visited by people, some known, some not. Wild and domesticated animals are also magically pulled to its shores. All who came eventually leave to go back home to their place of safety. The river planted at one spot swiftly flows, sometimes lonesome without close family and friends. Other visitors come and then are gone for months, only return in due seasons. Others come back after years for just a fleeting moment and little reason. So it's like healing.
Next, we have big monster.
Thank you for having me. Yes, one better side went. You can't barely contain myself, the only fun people in the room. Okay, so I just published a collection of a small collection of poetry. It's called Luminescent Ships, Love Songs to
That's what was.
all right. So step to the mic. That's I don't want to touch it now. It's very temperamental. Mr. Sound Man, this is the new Stone Love. Stone Love this.
I love it, Carl.
Yeah, but them fix this. The Sound Man too. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Thank you. So yes, a collection of poetry, a very small one, in honor of June, that's Caribbean American Heritage Month. I titled it Luminescent Ships, Love Songs to Caribbean Americans, or Caribbean American Life. And I wanted it to be quatrains and little, rhyming poems, but that didn't come out at all. Other things came out. I broke a lot of rules. So here's the first rule I broke. I took a bunch of haikus and put them in a poem to celebrate Marcus Garvey. So and here you are to hear it. So this poem is called Somebody Will Come for Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Jettisoned we bob on a grim sea, clutching life. Somebody will come. Teeth beating Morse code, send a David or a John. Somebody must come. Fingers fork and rake in thrall of cotton and cane. Somebody must see. Human coral bleed. We making bank for the West. Somebody witness. Oi, you, rise up now. The voice hammers and chisels, sound digging up we. purple, golden, with mouth made of tightly coiled words. My kingfisher bird, old time hat with a plume, a sight for watering eyes. This man, son in we. Praise to the Most High, break my fears, bones, crack this load with love's medicine. This is for Marcus Scott. No, man, for real, not take the 2 little minute them. Yeah, start up the point them. Do beg you please. I'm trying to find. So what I did after that was some poems were like really serious and tried to be high, ivory toe poems. But some of them, no, we say, no, we have to celebrate a little bit of them, right? And my life as a child. So I called this poem, I have time? Yeah. I've been so nervous. Okay, so this poem is called Tilly Lamp Bedtime Rhyme. Yeah. Some of you don't know Tilly Lamp because I'm a stush. And the parents are rich. Linda, nobody stop. You don't know the Tilly Lamp. Whatever. I'm thinking of it. Okay, here it is. Good night, dead of night, country dark. Thick as thieves with the rolling calf, running with your big chain clanking, them foul breath singing and panting. Please, dear God, my soul to keep. Make him pass me over so me get some sleep. Good night, croaking lizard, you too brazen. Demon assistant to West Craven. Don't even run when fire blazing. If you drop on me head, you bore right in. Me say me prayers and me twist in the sheet. Me fight and fight, so me no drop asleep. Good night, scorpions full of malice. Sleeping with pajama with your hungry chalice. Wait for a stupid we to plant we leg in instead of giving the pants a good beating. We hear the laughter, but we can't see it. Then boom, the venom. You're done with sleep. Good night, drummer cockroach, flat brown bird. Why you have to travel in such a big herd? Not even car can crush you. Pestilence, king. Find a hole in my house, invite yourself in. Then you fly straight at we shuddering heap. See, they know how we are gonna sleep. Good night, home sweet home in the hurricane. Your torch beats back the rough and the rain, faithful kerosene lamp glowing. Your yellow flame heart just a winking, warning the duppy, don't be a creep, shining your light so we get good sleep. And then I have one more because I don't want to run out of time. It's a whole heap of stush poem, but you don't want to read them there. And by the way, you know what that sneaky mosaic Garvey did? It sneaked into almost all the poems. So pick the first one of a Marcus Garvey. And I just decided I'm not going to apologize. I'll just leave him in there. So he is in a lot of the points. That's kind of weird, huh? He came up, see that name? Your point that you know? Yes, sir. He came on the wind. Okay, what is something, there, man? My goodness gracious me. Come. Okay, how many minutes I have?
That's 3
minutes. I think I can squeeze it in. I'm gonna do what you did, burn it. Okay, so this poem is called Dance Hall's Unlikely Feminist. It's all like that. So anybody who knows this saying 4 lines. Lena must dream you they dream. Then I in my house fi go cook and clean. When me take a stock, she a read magazine. Lena must dream you they dream. No, just no, so not dreaming, no, dream. 1980 was a fiery year. Political war with new killing gear. Bloodbaths for sale to finance election. Worthy causes suffer from lack of attention. Rice and peas and chicken give way to gas belching and bang belly tension. Women's rights half it turn and make fashion. And then an unlikely messenger. But how girl power can sneak it up? Look how it used General Echo. Iconic style of rhythm broadcasting misogyny. But check how many men talk with authority about Arlene and her brand of insurgency. Now all girls know about this fraternity. Beatbox it with me now. Boom, boom. One more.
Yeah.
Chalkboard in a dance hall schoolroom, as far away as Washington, D.C., New York, echo toasts from Bobby Newby's music machine. Lena must dream you the dream. Send up in me house, figure cook and clean. When me take a stock, she are in magazine. Lena must dream you the dream. Wisdom ride music like my shapeshifter. A dancehall hypnotist, a weightlifter. Showing us a galaxy of possibilities, showing that girls could be a co-ruler. Respect, mom. We know me a bit drop dead a cooking stage. Don't take me for granted. This is a revolution. One more. Check that. No more. Okay.
Yes.
Don't come in.
And coming up now, we have Dawn for us to pray.
Oh, I wouldn't face them. Oh, you can have whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, cause starts.
Still check her Phillips one. Okay. Hi, everybody. They save the best for last.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry I can't stand up and, so that you can see me properly, but I assure you, even if I did stand up, I would be a lot taller. What I really would like to do is read for you something that is at the heart of everything that I write, which is family. And when I decided that I would write the Run series set in the 1700s on a plantation in Jamaica and adjacent to the Coptic country and all the experiences of families on the plantations and in the mountains, it really, family is at the root of everything that I write. I'm a teacher. My mother was a teacher. She taught those lovely boys. So I have my family here. My son Ian, who is the illustrator of my books, and he's working on some new books covers for Andreen as well. And my husband Stephen, whose fault it is that I am no longer resident in Jamaica. Anyway, I want to just read you as much as I can from this chapter, which it finds the protagonist of the second book with her brother, the protagonist of the first book. They had escaped from the plantation and they are getting used to life among the maroons in the mountains. So she is with her foster parents, Mas Dolphus and Miss Mattie. They were finishing up their tea in the yard before their wattle and dog hut. Miss Mattie leaned over the cook fire as her husband sat on a stone, sharpening up wicked-looking cutlets. Prudence said, "Good morning, Miss Mattie." "Good morning, Mas Dolphus." The warrior ignored her, as he usually did, and Miss Mattie thrust a warm piece of bammy into her hand. Prudence chewed on the cassava bread and gratefully accepted the calabash cup brimming with chocolate from her foster mother. Prudence couldn't bear to think of her own lost mother. She missed having breakfast with her and learning from her at the hospital. She tried focusing on her brother, seeing his sturdy frame in her mind's eye and seeing both her parents reflected in his face and form. Strong features in Kofi's face were just like Kwame, but you could tell he got his little turned-up nose from Dorcas. Prudence knew Kofi had been having trouble adjusting to his new role, as she had. It was not at all what she had expected when Kofi appeared out of the dark with his friend Miguel to rescue her and Dorcas from enslavement. Mas Dolphus slipped away unnoticed with a silent, gliding walk of the maroons into the pearly light. Prudence looked around and found him gone. It was the signal that the workday had begun. She squared her shoulders and prepared herself for another round of the learning. Miss Mattie handed the calabash bowls to Prudence, who scrubbed them carefully with a handful of iron bead leaves, rinsed them with the last of the water in the gourd, and placed them upside down on the bamboo shelf in the lean-to kitchen. The embers from the fire on which Miss Mattie cooked their bammy and chocolata were banked and seemed like little more than grey ash. As Prudence scraped the ashes from the fireplace, she found a pocket of coals that still gave heat. She blew on the embers till they glowed bright, warming her pursed lips and cheeks. She scraped some ash over the coals and left them burning. "Do not allow them to put your fire out, my daughter." Those were Kwame's bracing words whenever her spirits rose too high for what was expected of the house slaves at McDermott Plantation. Dorcas would scold her for not being on her guard. But then she would show Prudence ways to be herself, unobserved by the watchful, overseeing eyes. Prudence knew her parents had both wanted freedom. Dorcas found escape in her mind and through subtle forms of protest. Kwame, proud warrior that he was, risked it all by running for the hills. But the treacherous slave Cornelius had vowed to put Kwame in his place, and now he had done just that. When Kwame left the plantation to join the mountain warriors, the watchful Cornelius led the seekers straight to him. Now Kwame was indeed put in his place, an unmarked grave in the slave burial plot. Prudence's eyes welled with tears as she stood gazing into the ashes. Suddenly, she pitched forward almost into the fire. Miss Mattie's punishments were always swift and unexpected. She had walked up unheard behind Prudence and given her a thump between her shoulder blades. Prudence caught herself just inches from the fire and turned to face Miss Mattie. "Mountain people don't have time for dreaming, picnic. Go fetch the water." Her voice was creaky from the cold morning air, or perhaps from lack of use. Prudence glumly took the leather bucket and stepped past her foster mother. How do they do it? She marveled not for the first time. They crept up on her constantly with their noiseless gliding gait, while she seemed to make enough noise for a whole platoon of redcoats walking in just her bare feet. You must learn to do that walk. As for the speaking, Prudence was bewildered by the different languages she heard when people did speak. Taino, Miskito, Hausa, Igbo, Fulani, Yoruba, Twi, and Spanish. She was itching to learn, but was sure no one would take the time to teach her. She would have to keep her ears big to pick up the meaning of the other speech. In the meantime, she would practice her walking. Prudence arrived at the stream in the cockpit bottom, where the maroons drew their water every day. She splashed along the stream bed to the spot where the spring rushed over a pile of rocks and pooled at the bottom of the small cataract. Standing in the middle of the little pool, she enjoyed the sand of the feel of the sand shifting between her toes. Lounging on the bank, looking as though he'd lain there for days, was her brother, dark eyes twinkling, smooth chocolate-colored face framed by short, spiky curls. Kofi, is when you get here. Been watching you the whole time. He grinned and flipped over onto his belly, patting the earth beside him. How would you do it? I've been practicing, but I just can't move as quietly as these people. How come you can do it? I was teaching me all those Sunday mornings when we used to wake up before day and cross the river to hunt birds. Oh, you think we escaped from the waters and come back? At least you can fit in with these mountain people better than me. They just don't seem to ever make any noise, Kofi. Remember how we used to play ring games? You and Morgan used to spin your gig and even steal away to the blue hole for a swim. We never had to keep quiet, except in the great house. Remember the day when we first came to this maroon town? Just thinking about it make me hair stand on end. Fool, Picty, you are here always standing on end. Prudence dug her brother in the ribs and they chuckled together. Kofi, it was so strange. You were brave and strong, Prudence. I was proud of you. But now that we're here to stay, I just can't get used to digging in the fields and the battle drills and all the cooking and the cleaning. What men do anyway? Man was made to be a hunter, sis. Hunt and fight. That is what we do. Prudence poked him in the side and he stifled a laugh. He had always been ticklish. Serious man, I don't think I'm going to get on here, Kofi. They want me to learn how to shoot and fight with cutlass. What about one arrow and lance? Them too. But Kofi, all I ever wanted to do was to read books and get learning. Not what the mountain people call learning, Kofi. She cut him off as he was about to speak. Yes, I know that they give the learning every day to the younger ones, but I haven't seen one single book since I've been here. Kofi's smile faded. I know it's hard, Pooh, but Papa gave his life trying to reach his people, and I follow his dream to bring us here. I know how you miss Mama, but she wanted us to get away from the plantation too. Don't worry, I will go back and get her. We're going to be a family again. Don't talk like that, Kofi. You know that it's not possible to bring Mama out. She can't run like we, and our bad back would have killed her with pain if she tried. Kofi, you will get in trouble with the warriors if you go without permission. You're not afraid to show the watchers where the town is. I'm already in trouble with the warriors. What? Trouble already? What you do now, Kofi? Kofi looked downcast, his body slumped. It's all right, little brother. Tell me what happened. I know that you can get on the wrong side of things because you're just too high-spirited. But Kofi, you always do the right thing in the end. Well, you and I do is right for these people. I am too everything. Too short, too weak, too noisy, too forgetful, just too wrong. Is that the end of my time? I can stop here. Oh, the mic. You want.
Well, thank you so very much. I think we should give an applause to Mother Forrest. And I'm over the life because her legacy is living on.
Yeah, I tell a brief story about Mrs. Forrester.
In
Just, it's short.
2 seconds.
All right, listen, I read the book and I was a bit scared of showing it to Mrs. Forrester. I sent it anyway, because her name is Mencha. Yeah. She tried to reach me about 5 times. I wasn't available, so she left messages. Teacher, she is. One day, we started on the ground. And she said, I don't know what that's what you write, you what? So Mrs. Forrester, I was scared. I said, don't worry about it. Good. But here's the thing. 3 months later, she went to glory. And I kept told everyone I have Mrs. Forrester's voice on tape.
No. Wow.
Day before Mrs. Forrester was buried, I was sitting at my desk and the very book slid and erased. Its messages were for me.
Yeah, that's right.
Mrs. Sharp.
Well, thank you also very much. And yet we laughed, we've been transported, we've been prompted to think, and we've been moved to act. Folks, please don't leave without buying books. The authors have brought books. So for more, please, search through the pages. You've been told earlier that you need to read 4 hours a day. So that you can fulfill your 4-hour requirement. I think we're almost out of time. So right now, I thought we'd have had time for 3 questions. I think we only have time for 2. Does anybody want to ask a question? Not necessarily of me. Yes, of any of the authors.
I heard what the daughter.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I read your book, and I was wondering how you came up with all the names, the African layers. Or you use
That's long and short of it is I would say that because I am an engineer, I'm going to make sure that to the best of my ability, what you do is factual in terms of context, and I don't use my imagination other than these stories that the ancestors are sharing and to help them to tweak it to our understanding. And so I do my reading. I'm researching free. I do my reading and the same thing with the you saw what Laurie looked like. And I do that. And if you just have your different grasp of what actually was happening on ground, how on earth can you interpret what was happening to the people?
Right.
I know that I am trying to say what's happening in a family. I start what's Uncle John who made us think my hope. What happened if they sold my baby girl? Those people said, like I would have said, because those people are us.
Yeah.
So that is why I'm looking for my children who are growing up in America without the context that I understand myself in. and they can understand their father's country because they live here. But if I don't present them something in a context that they can understand, and the joy of having Ian go up and help to illustrate the first book that I wrote for him and his sister, Run with Freedom, and then illustrate the second one that all my friends kept saying, you're gonna see the part. Yeah, and just the joy of being able to introduce him as a child to the story, and as a grown illustrator to seeing the things in his head and doing his own research. That has been great.
Never. Yeah.
Now, for the audience collectively, can the audience contact you there? Do you have like email address on your page? Okay, so in the folder, absolutely wonderful. So please look at the folder. I urge you to contact the authors. I urge you to get the books, read the books, and then follow up with the authors. So you're going to ask some questions.
Yeah, right, guys. Yes, I see. Right.
Yes.
Ladies, you can do anything with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I had the honor and the pleasure of knowing Mr. Harry Belafonte very, very well. And he would see me and call me cousin. And that started, by goodness, 40 years ago, you know. And I just want to tell you, in terms of books written, I was never the great book reader, but I carry those books with me everywhere I go. And the first book I want to tell you about, you should all check out. It's by a Jamaican American named Harry Belafonte. It's called My Song. You never read something so riveting about his history and all about civil rights and how he convinced his friend Dr. King to meet the government people. And so I read the book and I read the book and I read the book, and I'm not a book reader. I can't put it down. And the other book I carry with me everywhere, Charlie Hyatt. And you can't stop laughing when you read Charlie Hyatt. So I want to remind you the humor of our youth and our parents and grandparents. It's all in here. All of this. Anyhow, that's my comment.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, all good things must come to an end. This is our first entree into an event like this, quickly and hurriedly and hurriedly put together. Yes. But before I close out, it is very important that I tell you about the organization that has facilitated this. The American Foundation for the University of the West Indies. We exist to raise funds to facilitate increased access of poor people picnic. The poor ward is financially challenged, impoverished, to attend a great university for a bargain price. And our last reader is a distinguished UWI alum. Our moderator is a distinguished UWI. Many people here in the audience, I want to put up on the hand, I'll move to go UWI. Go UWI, go UWI.
Extramural count?
Extramural does count. But the state of education in the Caribbean, and more importantly, in our country, Jamaica, needs some serious attention. And we raise funds to support students who can't afford to pay the tuition. The average cost for tuition at the UWI for a whole academic year, not one semester, not one term, one whole academic year, one whole school year, unless you're doing medicine, engineering, law, is $3,000 US. More than 60% of our students today come from low-income families who cannot afford to pay that amount of money. Many persons, if you're not here, or your friends, spend $3,000 per person when you're doing remember to spend. More importantly, for those of us who live in the New York tri-state area, $3,000 is not even the cost. Is less than one semester, even if you go to a state school here. So I implore you, as we ask you to think about the importance of the literary experience of our Jamaican authors, as we ask you to share information about the fantastic presentations that you've seen here today,
Nobody walk out here and forget them, you know. Because we have everybody email and telephone numbers. And we do a survey and make sure so when me, Marsha, and Monique call, we have the right answer. You know, there's a show on television called FBI, and it says nobody does a manhunt like FBI. Nobody not look to nobody more than how Jamaican people plan to find And so, on a more serious note, I ask you, any contribution that you can make to this institution in order to provide increased access for young, talented, ambitious men and women. They don't really want to sit up on the street and fire a gun. They don't want to sell drugs.
True.
But they're young, talented, ambitious, and they want to break the cycle of generational poverty and create a better livelihood, not only for themselves, but their community and their country. I'm asking you in your quiet moment. Marsha, we have pen enough so they can give out, so they can use it to write check. We have pen, or you can go online at www.afuwi.org. That's www.A for American, and you cannot forget this, it is so simple. A for American, F for Foundation, UWI.org, and make a donation. Any amount that you make will be truly, truly appreciated. And so I just really want to close out on this because we do have to get out of here. I cannot afford to take the little money that we don't have to pay the overtime because it's the same poor people picking it to school. But it is important that we on behalf of AFUWI, Marsha, Monique, and I reiterate what an absolute privilege and honor it is for us to have you here this evening. It is a distinct pleasure to be able to showcase the kind of talent that you've just experienced. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you to pause for a moment because history was made in this place, in this space, in this moment, right here. And you are all witness to it. So before we thank our sponsors and other people, I'd like you all to give a round of applause to our authors. These people who have come from all across the United States to be here. They could have done something else, but they thought it's important to share their creative expressions with you. And I cannot thank you enough for taking time to show your appreciation. We really did want you to have bigger space and bigger room, but we don't have no money, but next year to do bigger and better. I'd like to also thank Professor Crichton, distinguished UWI alum. I'd like to thank our sponsor for the food, which is Caribbean Food Delights. We'd like to thank our juice provider, and we're asking you to grab a glass of juice on your way out. When you stop to get the juice, don't not stop because we're into the $10 a minute. So you just take it and go straight through the door, head to the elevator, press 1, do not stop, do not stop, do not stop. It's not a monopoly, you're not doing nothing, go straight down the stairs and out of the building. Because at $10 a minute, we cannot afford it. But we would like you to at least show your appreciation because it is really good juice and good food. So please don't leave it behind because we don't want to dash it.